All right, we are live. I got Tiny Spawny right here. Mark, my good buddy, man.
Hi, guys.
What's up, Mark? Hopefully you're doing well, brother.
Oh, yeah.
Always great having you, man. Always enjoy it when you're able to join me for any amazing guests from the entire Spawn world. You make things a lot better, and your knowledge of Spawn, man, is just chef's kiss, bro.
Yeah, I definitely did not want to miss this one. When you told me that you had this one coming up, I'm like, I have to be there. So
Absolutely.
here we are.
Absolutely, man. Well, real quick, what's up, guys? How's it going? Real quick, I want to introduce Editor-in-Chief of Todd McFarlane Productions, Spawn, Mr. Thomas Healy, who is now the writer of the brand new Black Ritual, the book of NYX. Cannot wait to dig into this. When it first came out, I talked to Thomas. I said, Thomas, when this comes out, you got to come on, man. We got to talk about this. Pump it up. If you are like a diehard Spawn, you know who NYX is. Hopefully, when you got this in your hand, you went back to issue 184 and you read that battle, and then you came back to find out what's going on. But man, without further ado, here is the amazing Mr. Thomas Healy. What's up, Thomas?
Hey guys, how you doing today? Thank
Hey,
you
Thomas.
so much for having me on.
Always a pleasure having you,
And
Thomas.
my very deep voice today.
Yes. So Thomas has been on the tour, and he came back with a scratchy throat, but he sounds sexy as hell, and we cannot wait to talk about Black Ritual with you, Thomas.
Yes, Black Ritual. My wife says I still got a little bit of the Kirky. I was over in Albuquerque, so
you caught the Kirky, huh?
Yeah, I got the Kirky a little bit. It was a phenomenal show. Don't get me wrong, I'm not putting it down at all. It was some great people. Myself, Andy Kuhn, Aaron Campbell, Raymond Gay. I met a bunch of new creators that were absolutely phenomenal. So it was a phenomenal show. I don't want to put it down, but yeah, I got a little bit of something in my voice. So, but I'm feeling good. And I see Jeff Monk is in the chat. Yes, I like my hat, Jeff, too. I saw this and I had to have this hat. I'm a font nerd.
Say? I thought Ariana Grande was a font.
Yeah. So thanks for catching that one, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks for joining, Jeff, man. Love to have you. All right, Thomas, man. Big week for you. We got the amazing drop of Black Ritual. I know this has been kind of a passion from prior conversations. So as we jump in, man, I would love to ask where this passion came from, how long you've been sitting on a story for NYX, and what does it feel like finally having it on the pages of a comic book?
Oh, it's absolutely phenomenal. It's not the first book that I've done, but it's the first book through Image, a major publisher. So it's been really, really cool. For the last probably 2 or 3 years, I've really been diving deep into the lore of Spawn, kind of picking out what really has not been explored. And one of the things that really kind of stood out to me was like when a character like NYX showed up, they just like, oh, she was a Wiccan. And then that was the explanation for magic. She's just Wiccan. And I felt that was very, very lacking for her character development, stuff like that. So I had wanted to bring and start introducing how magic worked in the Spawn universe. If you follow me on Instagram, you know I have a personal interest in the occult. So I had a background in it. So I wanted to start developing that. And I had some other ideas. And then luckily, and I say this with all respect to the gods of luck, Nat ran into Todd at Calgary and said, hey, I want to do a book with NYX. And Todd said, yeah, sure. Contact Thomas. We'll get it squared away. And when I explained to Nat where NYX was in the current continuity, which was the current Queen of Hell, his response was, and I remember this very clearly, we were on a Zoom, and his response was, oh, no, I don't want to draw that. I want to draw the cool goth chick. Like, can we make her not the Queen of Hell? And I'm like, well, we've got some plans for that storyline. So no, but let me think about what we can do. And then I had a layover coming back from New York, and I was in the airport lounge for about 4 or 5 hours. And I ended up coming up with an idea for a 7-issue miniseries. I wrote the skeleton out and I sent that to Todd and to Nat, and they both loved the idea. And then in continuing with Nat to kind of build it, our plan, if sales go well and it warrants it, we would like to start this is 3 7-issue miniseries. We have 3 separate chapters to talk about NYX. The first one is, if you've read the book, where she ended her kind of like run in continuity in 184. She kind of stepped out of the book for a while. and what she was doing between there and then when she showed up in 300, which is getting shot in the head. Spoiler alert, but 300 came out years ago, so I don't feel bad saying that.
Yeah, 57 issues ago. So
yeah, exactly. So we really wanted to kind of like fill in those gaps, and it gave Nat the ability to revisit a character that he drew back in the day and keep that character, and then expand a little bit more on who and what she is, what she does, and what she can do, and then also how does magic work in the Spawn universe. We've always had heaven power and hell power, and those were really the two big opposing forces. This is something different. This is something that works different. This is something that is handled and will be handled and shown differently. So what she gets when she shows back up to New York after spending all this time with Spawn and making the deals with Mammon is that she's an outcast. All of the covens of New York City, they don't want anything to do with her because they look down at her because they're like, we're better than it. The war with heaven and hell, that's insignificant to us. Let them bicker about scraps. We're onto something bigger. So, and you start to see that as the issues approach, that she's kind of trying to earn her way back in. And she realizes that these young girls are going missing, and they reach out to her and said, look, we don't trust you, but we know you probably don't have anything to do with this, and you're probably going to die. So why don't you find out who's taking these girls, fight this witch hunter guy. Again, you're probably going to die, but if you don't, maybe we'll let you back into the club. And that's kind of where she goes. And then as far as how it is portrayed is Nat and I didn't want to do, and no offense, because I love the character of Doctor Strange. Yeah. We didn't want to do the Doctor Strange route, which is, hey, if you do this with your hands, glowing rings show up, and that means magic. We actually used real rituals, real symbology, real practices. When she visits the covens, these are real, in some cases, closed communities of practices of people that do this. And we wanted to represent them truthfully and not just be like, oh, well, it's pagan, so that just encompasses everything magic, because that's not the case. Mm-hmm. So we're drawing from our own personal interests or experiences, and then presenting that. Now, yes, it is still dressed up in comic book. So you do still get the comic book purple, pink, green laser blasts, just like you have to, because sometimes real magical rituals are incredibly boring, because it's a dude in a robe with some candles mumbling for about an hour and a half. So we weren't going to do that. But yes, hopefully people can look at that, and maybe if somebody does have a minor interest, they go, oh, that's a real symbol. Like, that's not an artist just like doodling something. That's a real thing. That means something. And she's using it correctly. And that's what we're hoping for.
Incredible, man. Incredible. Now, does Nat have the same passion that you have for this entire world?
Yes. I mean, this book
Wiccan and all that good stuff.
Yeah, he's got an interest as well. Again, both of us, I think we're both coming from different directions. We both have different interests, but it would all be under the umbrella of what would be described as the occult. So it's interesting that we can bounce ideas back and forth and get a different perspective from both of us. And then, from his friends and his family that are part of it as well as my community that I'm friends with. I did some interviews, and starting in issue 2, I'm going to give like some shout outs to some of the people that are part of like maybe the online community, or people that I knew that I spoke to about their practices and what it means and how they present themselves and how they were comfortable being represented in books like that, and kind of giving shout outs to some of them. You'll see that they all follow very different paths, and they all look at it in a very different way. And then also we figured, because somebody did say, well, do you think this is going to be like, people are going to get offended? Is there going to be the Christian right is going to be? And I'm like, well, we're pretty far past the satanic panic at this point, from, the 70s and the 80s with Dungeons and Dragons. But this is a book about Spawn, and he's fighting demons and angels, and God's kind of an asshole in it. So I think at this point, after 360 some odd issues, all of the complaints have been made. And I'm not too worried about there being some kind of boycott for this.
Yeah. So was it your idea where your story tied in with the Spawn universe, or did Todd say that it had to start there at 184?
No, that was my idea, because I didn't want to.
I like the way you did it.
Yeah, I had this idea, and I actually had to go back and read and figure out where her last appearance was, because I didn't remember. And then I did remember, all the stuff with Marana. I remember that. And then there was just that perfect segue, because not only does she just step away with Wanda and Cyan, it wasn't like she just didn't get written the next issue. She got separated from Al intentionally, and then Al spoiler, kills himself 3 issues later. So I also, and this is going to sound horrible, I also didn't have to worry about Todd coming and saying, "Hey, I want you to put Spawn in the book." Spawn's dead.
Very, very true.
I don't have to, because what we really did want to do, and I've said this the last time I was on when we were talking about the new books. This is the third wave of new releases from us. So that we had Spawn. The first one was all of the new core books. So you had King, Spawn, Gunslinger, Scorched, all very, very entrenched in Spawn and Al Simmons lore. The second wave, they were a little bit further out there, but still they were things you knew, things you were comfortable with. Sam and Twitch, Cyan's miniseries, stuff like that. Again, stuff that you've already seen. Now we're at the third wave. And now you're going to see books like this. You're going to see books like Daniel Enriquez and Jonathan Galapian's The Curse of Shirley Johnson. Again,
I'm really looking forward to that one.
Yes.
I have ideas in my head as to what I think the plot's going to be, but I could be totally wrong. I've had 0 spoilers, but
Daniel and Jonathan are coming up with something very special. There is no doubt in my mind that that's going to be our biggest book of the year. It is so anticipated, and it is so beautiful. But again, set in the Spawn world, but very different. And then we've got Bloodletter by Tim Seeley, Joseph Village, and Christian Rosado. Again, set in the Spawn world. You get the nod to why the character knows who Al is, but then it goes off on its own story. So all of these books, all 3 of these that are coming on this third wave, truly, and you guys have read this first issue, other than that little first 3 pages, there's no other Spawn stuff. All of the characters in Black Ritual are going to be new characters. You don't have to have read any Spawn to read this book, and you don't have to read any new Spawn to enjoy this book. So if you're a Spawn fan and you've tried to get your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your husband, wife, whatever, to read Spawn, and they're just going, I'm just not feeling this. Here's a character, strong female protagonist, really cool art. Hopefully the story's engaging. Give them that. Say, yep, this is in the same universe as the books I like, but you don't have to know anything about Spawn to read this book. That little first few pages was just to show you, yep, she was part of that universe, and now she's stepping away, and now she's doing her own thing, and we're never going to have to address that again in this book. It's her adventure, her problems, the shit she has to deal with, and the people she interacts with.
Incredible. Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
I say, like, as far as it goes with NYX, like when you announced this book, I was excited for it because there's so many characters that just kind of like fly under the radar, and NYX has always like been there, and she's popped up, and I thought she was like, pretty cool. But I can tell you the moment that I fell in love. Okay. Not that I want to date her, but that I really liked NYX as a character was when she jumps up on Spawn's chest and rips it open to try to save his life, and performs that ritual. I'm like, that's when I really took a liking to her.
Yeah.
So I mean, and now that we're getting like a little more of her story, I'm really looking forward to it.
And that's what we're hoping to do. She had a really great part. She's the first She-Spawn. The scenes where she goes into hell and has to deal with that, the stuff with Mammon, those all really kind of set her as a fan favorite character. And then obviously, she disappears, and then Todd brings her back and kills her instantaneously just so he could create a new She-Spawn with J. Scott Campbell. But when Rory was working on Spawn and he wanted to come up with somebody who was kind of like the avatar of Greenworld, I said, well, what about NYX? Because I liked the character and he liked the idea. So she became that character. And then since she was around when we were leading into the battle for the throne, I think, and I'll be honest, I go to some of the Spawn groups. I lurk around the Reddit a little bit. Everybody's going, they're going to put Wanda on the throne. They're going to put Wanda on the throne. And Todd's like, we're going to make it look like it. We're going to write Wanda back. She's Ghost to talking about it. We knew it. I mean, to me, that was the most obvious choice. We can't be Spawn. Then he doesn't have a monthly book anymore. Was he going to do Spawn sitting there, Spawn in a chair?
I was 95% sure Wanda was going to take that throne. And when I opened that book, I'm like,
everybody thought that.
I mean, I'm not mad, but I thought for sure I was right.
Yeah, everybody thought that I saw that everywhere, and we're like, and honestly, that was never the plan. This wasn't a swerve that we changed. She was never, because let's be honest, there's a reason she's called Wanda. It's based on Todd's wife, and the last thing he wants to do is take the character that he based on his wife and make her the queen of hell.
Right.
So
He'd be sleeping on the couch for a while.
exactly.
That would be some
So
awkward
she was, that was never the plan. We went through everybody. We made pros and cons. What if it's Clown? What if it's Sin? What if it's, you know, everybody? What if it's Jim Downing? What if it was Jessica? And then the one character that we kind of really like playing with is what if it's NYX, because Al has a relationship with her that he doesn't have with a lot of the characters. It almost like Wanda. They were intimate, and it was a very emotionally charged relationship. So him having to go to her and going, I need you to do this, knowing that she's totally going to get corrupted, and kind of make that promise of like, I'll come back and help you one day, but we need to stop this now. and knowing what she knows. And now we're going to see, if you got to the splash page in issue 1 of Black Ritual, she knew this stuff was happening. She knew this was unavoidable. So this helped shape all of the decisions she made up until that time.
Incredible.
So, but this, you know, now that you bring up the splash page, so is this the first time that she has had this vision or seen this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. That when she
so
sits
this is the first
down
time she gets that flood of all this stuff coming in out of order, and she can't make sense of it.
Yes. And then I'm literally I've got it up on my screen right here. I'm writing the script for issue 2 right now. We're sending it to the letterer tomorrow. So I'm just polishing that script on it. I'm literally just writing the scene where she's talking to somebody about that. Going, I saw this, and I don't even know who these people are. I saw Al. I don't know who anybody these, because remember, she doesn't know Jessica at this point. She doesn't know who Gunslinger Spawn is. She doesn't know who Medieval Spawn is. These are people that she's never met.
Yeah,
but she's having visions of herself fighting alongside them because she knows that's her future.
Amazing, man. The job that Nat did from an art standpoint, because I didn't realize he did the colors too.
Oh yeah, he did start to finish. He came to us and I was asking, do you want to do a color? He goes, man, I've got an idea in my head. I really want to set the palette very specifically for this. So I told him, I was like, well, tell you what, I love New York. I grew up there. I love the city at night. Yeah. Let's assume, unless I say so, this book always takes place at night. So you don't have to draw the sunny New York City streets that you would see in a Spider-Man book. You can do the dark alleyways. I love that he does like the orange incandescent street lamps because it gives like this great glow. And then when there's a lot of fog or mist in New York City, which people are surprised there is, it just makes the rooftop glow. And there's a shot. When I gave him that plot, I said, have you ever seen the Exorcist movie poster? I kind of want it to look like the Exorcist movie poster. And he said that to me. He goes, what do you think? And I go, it's amazing. That's the shot. That's the shot right there. We're going to put on a t-shirt one day.
That guy, he's just like so ominous looking.
He is.
And if this has been addressed before by, you or Todd, but like when you guys are creating characters, how much of later on down the line, we might make this into a toy. Does that influence how the character is created?
No, there's
not,
always
not at all.
No, we always go for the comic stuff first. If that was the case, we probably would have made the Deviant a lot sleeker because there's a lot of tooling on that toy. And that toy came out recently and it came out beautiful. Yes, and I love that they used that kind of like pearlized white on it it just made it look awesome. So no, like that's one of the reasons that Spawn's an easy toy to make because it's just like a black bodysuit.
Right.
So no, there really isn't a thought of that when we're doing the characters because again, there's tons of characters that would never make a toy because it has to be, popular enough.
Oh, yeah, true, yeah.
So yeah, so that when we were designing this was I gave Nat some ideas, but he did the design. He came up with the Puritan character, and I just kind of described who he was and what he is. And he was like, cool. Like, so it's like the old Pilgrim, like the Puritans. I'm like, yeah, like you ever see the movie Witch?
Yeah. And
it's like, how they were so devoted to God. He's like that. And he goes, do you want the Pilgrim hat? I'm like, please don't put the Pilgrim hat. That's too goofy. I don't want the Pilgrim hat. No buckles on his shoes. But if you look closely on the covers, he hasn't used it in the book yet. But the gun he's carrying is a blunderbuss. So if you look at the old Pilgrim guns, they look like they have like clarinet barrels at the end. They kind of like
giant barrel.
Yeah. So I was like, give him a blunderbuss, but it's all modern. Like it does stuff. It's got technology in it. So he'll have that gun.
So okay, I did not realize that. So this is the Puritan. This is the guy that's
That is the Puritan, yes.
okay. All right.
Yep.
I did not know that.
Yep. Yeah, the goggles are not like a permanent all the time thing. He just in the first issue he had them kind of like the collar up and the goggles on. But yes, that's that character.
Okay. All right, cool.
You also mentioned there's going to be a lot of new characters. Obviously, we don't want to give anything away what's going to happen in the next issues, but did those characters come to life for you while you were sitting at the airport, or have you already developed a lot of these characters and now this is the perfect time to add those to this story?
There are a couple that I've had that have just been sitting in the back that we were talking about utilizing in the book, in the main Spawn title. Just throwing them in as new characters that are going to end up being in here as their first appearances. Actually, one of them, that was one of the reasons that I started going down kind of this route in the Spawn universe. Well, actually, his first appearance is going to be when I take over Sam and Twitch later this year. He'll be showing up in that book first, before he shows up in this book.
I love it.
And then some of the other ones are like various members of the covens, because we're instituting like, hey, New York's this hotbed of everything. So there are all these different covens all over the city. And again, like we were talking a little bit earlier, they all have different practices. They all have different belief systems. And they all have different ways in which they manipulate the energy to effect, meaning magic. So you've got the Upper West Side, which are the kind of the rich women that are descendants of the Mayflower and can track their lineage back to England, and they're very kind of hoity-toity, and they're using magic to maybe manipulate the stock market a little bit to stay rich. And then if you go to Spanish Harlem, you have the witches that are doing brujeria or Santa Muerte devotion, again from a more Hispanic or Latin American culture. You go to Harlem, you might have more Afro-Caribbean roots, voodoo, hoodoo, Quimbanda, stuff like that. So all of these different covens, they're not just all witches that do the same thing. They all have their own roots. They all have their own faith systems. But what they're doing is all the same. But it's just the way they do it, the way they dress it in their own cultures looks different. But it's all magic. They're still just controlling the random cosmic forces of the universe to create their effect.
I mean, how cool is it that, one, you're already interested in this stuff, but then also to create a story where you can pay respect to all these different segments of this like religious world. I don't know if that's the right word to use, but Wiccan and all these different styles from different regions around the US and how it all came to be. I mean, that's pretty cool, especially when you're staying very true and respectful to the belief systems of each of those people.
Oh yeah, I feel incredibly lucky to do it. It's one thing to just getting a gig to write a comic. It's another to actually get the gig to write something you have a true and honest interest and passion about. And so I don't have to say, okay, cool, I'm writing a sci-fi book and I have to write a space opera a la Flash Gordon. That'd be super cool, and I'll take that gig, but it wouldn't necessarily be the first thing. So just kind of being in the right place at the right time and having Nat really want to dive and do something special with his character, and being able to be a part of that because of his push for it. I mean, I give him a lot of gratitude for that. Yeah. And Todd, obviously, for liking the pitch. And I've done some interviews, and I was talking to people at the con, like, oh man, it must be nice just being able to pitch Todd and get a book. I'm like, okay, well, I've been there for going on 5 years now. All I will say is very not my first pitch. Very not. I've pitched a lot, and this is the first one. He went, yeah, go for it. So no, it is not just because you work for Todd, you get to do your own comic book. Very much not the case. He is very protective. I do tell people, like Spawn is like his fourth child. He is very, very protective. It's one of the reasons we don't do random. We get asked all the time, can we do some crossover? Can we do a crossover with Invincible or this or all this stuff all the time? No, like he's like, no, I want to control it. I want to do it the way I want to do it. And he is in a position where he can make the comics he wants to make. Yeah. And you have to respect that.
Yeah, I had Rodney Barnes on, who, if you're not familiar, I mean, the guy's
I am. Yeah.
I know you are for sure, but just anybody listening who's not, he has Philadelphia,
Oh, yes.
which is another amazing title, and he talked about the discussions with Todd because there was in an issue, I can't remember, it's like 31, maybe 32.
Yeah.
Spawn does make an appearance, and
Yeah.
he talked about how protective Todd is
Oh,
of
yeah.
Baby, and yeah, you can't just throw Spawn in there, and Spawn's not going to get beat up, and he's not going to do that. Like, there's certain things.
Very much so. Yeah, I was part of those conversations, and it did help because Jason Sean Alexander, famed Spawn artist, is the artist of Philadelphia. So he kind of acts as the bridge. So when all four of us got on that call, it was, Rodney was saying, like, this is what I'd like to do. And then, so the first thing out of Todd's mouth was like, but Spawn's not going to get beat up, right? Like Spawn, if you're going to have Spawn show up, he has to be of importance. He has to be a driving force to the story. He's not just here's 5 other characters from a bunch of other books and Spawn. And it's like, well, I'm not going to waste my time doing that. But if Spawn's part of the story, and Rodney was like, no, absolutely, this is what we want to do. And Todd liked the idea. I thought the idea was phenomenal. Rodney's an incredible writer. And those 3 issues were really, really good.
Yeah, I really like the spin that Rodney put on Spawn. Like, he made him kind of a jerk. I mean, he had a smart mouth on him. Like,
yeah,
just the way that he was talking to those kids. He showed him a lot of respect.
Yep. Yeah, it was really, really cool. So, and then if you remember, there was another surprise cameo that happened in another book 2 years ago. That was part of the Massive verse.
I have it. Yeah, I have it.
Do you have it? It was the Rogue Sun one shot.
Yeah.
Yes, I have it.
And that was, they came to us about that, and I thought that was such a cool idea. And at first Todd was like, no, I don't want to do it. And they're like, but I'm like, they're not using him as a gimmick to sell.
No,
it's like one panel.
Yeah.
It's just one panel to say our medieval character and your medieval character shared the same world at some point. And I just thought it was so good. Like, you see the arms come down and pick her up, and he says something along the lines of like, come sister, we're going to give you the burial you deserve. And then the splash page is just medieval Spawn riding away. And man, I got so many letters about that in the spawning ground going, it's like, oh, is this a thing? Is it? And nope, that was it. It was a one and done. We're not really going to do a whole lot with that, but it was just a fun, I think, honorable way of using that character.
Speaking of like cameos, my LCS, like, they have like laser eye focus for Spawn, and they let me know about it. I hadn't seen anything announced, but I guess Spawn makes a cameo on 2 different covers that are coming up.
For
I don't remember.
Oh, for like image books?
Yes, it's 2 different image books. One's like a 1 in 25, which I told my LCS that I would order the extra copy so I could get it. And the other one is just like a regular, like a variant cover.
Yeah, I think through conversations, because again, don't forget that Todd is also the president of Image Comics, so that's another business he's doing. So every once in a while, Eric Stevenson can bend his ear and be like, hey, you know what, this creative team really, like, they're not going to ask her to put it in the book, but can they acknowledge it on a cover? And then a lot of times we'll say yes. So there's been, I think, cover appearances. There's been quite a few over the years.
Yeah, I survived the the Batman Spawn, all of those covers release, like 60 some. Yeah, I got them.
Yeah. Well, those were funny because, if you look at, there was a lot of covers, especially the ones that Greg drew, where you'd have like Spawn on top of Batman, who's laid out on the ground, and Spawn's pummeling him. And if I remember correctly, like, DC was like, okay, but we also need to have another one where Batman's on top. So there had to be a balance of all the covers. Like, it couldn't just all be Spawn beating up Batman.
Yeah,
so there had to be, so they had to do duplicates of a lot of those covers.
Yeah, I have the posters that got sent out to the comic shops.
Nice.
Somewhere. But yeah, one of each. I used to have them hanging side by side.
Yep.
Well, I mean, I kind of agree with the Spawn archive here, man. It would be amazing to get some sort of either a NYX action figure or a 2-pack with She Spawn. I think that would be like freaking amazing. I'm assuming Thomas, that would be front and center in your collection too if there was a NYX.
Oh, 100%, 100%. You know, with McFarlane Toys being a separate company, but we're all kind of working on the same thing. I get to know a lot of the guys there, but a lot of times I'll get pulled into the meetings to talk about for the Spawn line specifically, nothing for any of the other stuff, but like, hey, what characters are going to be kind of like big or a focus in the next, 6 to 10 months. So, yes, I'm usually the one that says like, well, we're going to do this with so-and-so. Here's this new version of NYX. I pitched them real early on, like the Deviant is going to be a character that people are going to be caring about, and you could do a lot with him. So, so yes, absolutely. Do I want a NYX figure? Yes.
You could do
I would say goth, current Black Ritual goth chick NYX first and foremost, since I'm not writing her as she's Spawn.
I would even love like this version. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah,
and Nat he killed it on this cover, by the way. Incredible. Because it's a
that's
Nat
it.
cover, right?
That's a Nat cover. He's doing all the cover A's for the whole series.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah, he just nailed it. He just that color palette. It's so rich, and with the uses of like the blues and the purples and the greens, it's just so. It's almost luscious. I'm going to describe my book as luscious.
Luscious.
Yes.
Well, with that voice, it even comes out even more.
Black Ritual is luscious.
Next time you get called into one of those meetings, just suggest to the McFarlane Toys that they should make the NYX and then do like a deluxe box set where you have the armor and stuff where you can make her the Queen of Hell.
Ooh.
There you go. I'm going to do it.
That way you can have like either or.
Yeah.
If they do it, I want 0 credit. It wasn't my idea.
You got it. I'm doing it.
That would be amazing, man.
Yeah.
So we got 7 issues, possibility of more series. Obviously, everything comes down to sales. But man, so you're working on 2 right now. It's going into lettering as we speak. But you kind of mapped out everything. So is the writing pretty much done for all 7 of those issues?
The full issues aren't written. No, there's a big skeleton document that I wrote down everything. This is what happens in all the issues. These are the big plot points and stuff like that. For this book, actually, my writing style changed a little bit. I used to write when I first started writing comics, like very, very rigid scripts. So, page 1, panel 1, and then I would describe how I wanted that panel to look. Guy's holding a gun and you're seeing it over his left shoulder down the, very, very specific. And then Todd, on the other hand, is very much like the old Stanley Marvel method. You write a real loose plot, you describe what happens on the page, and you let the artist come up with how that looks. And that could be panels. It could be a montage, a collage. Javi would all the time be like, hey, I just combined these 2 pages into a double page spread. When he was doing King Spawn, and it looked beautiful. So I got more into that style of writing because I wanted to respect what the artist wanted to do, especially since this was Nat's idea to start with. I certainly wasn't going to go to him as like, well, you're just, you're paid for hire, so do what I want. This was his baby. He wanted to do this character, and I wanted to do right by him. So what I do now is I will write out a full issue in prose as if it's a short story. So there might be little bits of dialogue in there, but I'll write that whole issue. Here's where it starts. Here's where it ends, and then fill in all the middle. I usually will then sit on it a day or 2, let it marinate, get it out of my head, then go back and reread it, make any changes that might need to be made. Like, oh, yeah, that was on a TV show. That's why I came up with that idea. Let's delete that kind of thing. But then I take that prose, throw it into Word, and then I'll break it down. So first I break it down into the scenes. Okay, first this is this scene. This is this scene, and then there's this scene. Okay, so there's 3 scenes in this issue. And then I'll start breaking the scenes down into pages. And then what Nat gets is just like a paragraph of page 1. Here's what's happening on page 1. And I'll say, like, hey, the girl, if you've read the book, whatever page it was, maybe it was page 5 or 6, young girl's running through the city. She keeps feeling like she's being followed. She keeps looking over her shoulder, sees somebody following her. Next page, she tries to cut across the street. She gets hit by a car. She's not hurt. She just gets thrown to the ground, and the cabbie gets out and is like, are you okay? She points and says, somebody's following me, but they don't see anybody. I mean, that's literally as detailed as it is. I will say, like, remember, this is at nighttime, or if there's a particular signage I want just to put. It shows up at a typical New York diner. Sometimes I'll put photos. Like, this is what a diner in New York looks like. And then sometimes I will put dialogue, just a couple of pieces, not the whole script, simply so he can go, okay, this is an argument. I don't want to draw faces where everybody's smiling, so that he has an idea of what the conversations are. So if he needs to put a look of tension on their eyes or something like that, but that's really it. So he gets very, very loose plot, and then he goes back for, he'll read it. He might come back with some ideas, or, hey, what if we did this with this character? What if we did this with this character? Or, nope, I love it, I'm not changing anything. That's basically it. It's just, it's pretty open. And then I get pages and go, yo, this is way better than I thought. This is incredible. Like, again, just the whole alleyway scene with the Puritan getting into the alleyway and kind of the fight and everything. It was just perfect for me. It was absolutely perfect for me.
So I will say, though, that I did have to go back and reread that section, like from the point where NYX walks out the door to where we see who we find out is Maya. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, that's not NYX. I'm like, what's going on? And then I realized that this is to bring the Puritan in. So, I mean, Maya, she's basically just a throwaway character then.
Well, you'll have to see issue 2.
Oh, okay. All right.
I don't want to spoil anything.
No. Okay. All right. You're fair. Okay.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Well, yeah, it's honest. It confused me for a second, but then I realized what was going on. We're done with NYX for a moment. This is another chapter, another part of this story. Okay.
Yeah, we just needed to. I did that. We talked about that. Do we just start with NYX showing up in New York City? I did want to give a nod to the old school Spawn fans that are going to know where she was and what she was doing, and also if they were gonna nitpick the continuity, exactly. If they were gonna nitpick the continuity to go, well, she's dead or she's Queen of Hell. It's like, I had to show no. Remember 184, the fight with Marana? Like, that's where she was. You don't really need to know any of that. The dialogue doesn't even matter. It just shows, she leaves with Wanda and Cyan, and I got to write Wanda kind of being a bitch.
Yeah.
Going like, just leave my family alone.
Get away. We don't want
to
just
get out. Like, I get what you did. Thank you. You saved us. But like, I got this kid, just leave us alone. Yeah. So NYX is kind of like, I've been doing this for, and again, it's comic book time. So how long was she really with Al? Who knows? Yeah. Months, a year, maybe a year and a half or so. But she's got nothing. She burned all her bridges by doing this. Yeah. Where does she go now? So that's why the scene of her deciding and sitting in Brooklyn going, cross over. If I step onto Manhattan Island, like, I'm just opening up another can of worms, but hopefully somebody will take me in.
Yeah, but I like the fact that you said that she could have made her entrance unknown, but she wanted them to know that she was there. Yeah. She's like, yeah, here I come.
Yeah. I mean, let's look at what she did up, from 122 to 184, as far as she knows, like, I'm the shit.
Yeah. Right.
And I don't want anybody thinking I'm hiding, and I don't, because then I don't want anybody thinking I'm being nefarious. So, all right, I'm here. Here we go.
There's a great question from Daily Spawn Archive. Was there any changes as Todd was looking over this where he said, Thomas, I would love for you to do this, or nothing?
Surprisingly, no. Nice. Story-wise, we sat after it was lettered. He had not read it first. I just sent everything off to get lettered, and we got the book in. So we printed out a PDF, and we just sat with that, and he kind of read it and then went, because again, I am introducing new things. So as it was happening, he goes, what does this mean? And Todd, magic. We're gonna see this develop. That's what's happening. Okay, cool. So he asked a few questions. What does this mean? Why is she doing this? Who's this guy? It's like, you're gonna find out. This is the story. And other than making a few suggestions about, like, I'd move this balloon to this panel and leave this panel silent kind of thing. He asked for no changes to the story at all.
That's
which I was very surprised, honestly.
Yeah, you're like, wait, you walked out of that office going, are you sure? Not nothing.
Yeah.
Well, we were gonna change the font, something.
Well, it was funny because we were gonna sit down, and typically when we're reviewing the books, one of my production artists is there, and then if Todd's in town, he sits down next to him, and like he loves doing the balloon placements. So everything's laid on, but he'll still then just go, just move this a little bit to the left. And And I usually sit there. So if he's got any questions about continuity or stuff, I'm the guy that he asks. So we were going to do that. And he sits down and I go to grab a chair and he goes, Thomas, maybe we should talk about this in private first. And I just went, oh shit, he hates it. He hates it. He read it and he hates it. So we go into the conference room and then he started going over it. And he didn't hate it. He just wanted me to be able to talk about it. And we did. And he was like, cool, done. That's
so
it.
cool.
And so, yeah, so nothing was changed.
Well, that's gotta feel really good, Thomas. That has to feel really good.
It does. It does. You know, and again, you guys both know Mark more than maybe you, Thomas, but like the Spawn community is tight.
Yeah.
It is
amazing group of people.
It is dare I say fanatical. In some places, in some corners of the internet, a little bit. But their problems arise in the Spawn universe that do not arise in other comic book universes, simply because Todd will never renumber or reboot.
Thank you.
So yes,
I like that.
Well, people say thank you, but then they will complain that the Violator story from 29 years ago is not exactly the same as the Violator story that Mark Andreyko just wrote.
Yeah.
You're
there's
right.
no comparison.
It's 30 years and we're not changing, but we are evolving. We're stretching it a little bit so there's a little bit more meat on those bones. And what I've been telling everybody specifically about that story, in both cases, you've got the Violator as an unreliable narrator. Yeah. That's the gimmick. Did what he say is true or is it not true? Who really knows? But that's the case. But it happens in all of the other aspects of the characters too. Sometimes you got to go, all right, that one thing that was said one time on issue 13, we're going to ignore that. Okay. We're not changing it because we don't know what to do, but we want this universe to continue to grow and thrive and survive. So yes, sometimes we need to be flexible. And that's how I like to put it. So luckily when we pitch this is all new territory. Yeah. So I don't have to worry about the continuity. That's why I like to say, like, anybody could read this. You don't have to be a Spawn fan. Hopefully you just go,
you don't.
It's cool character design. It's great art. I like strong female characters. Let's do this. I watched Buffy growing up. I liked Xena growing up. I'm aging myself, obviously.
Oh, we're right there with you.
But you could just have this cool character.
Yeah. I love it. And then as far as timetable, like when you look at the world of Spawn, right? We know 184. Have you thought about like at what time frame this is taking place within the Spawn universe?
Well,
like
this story is just a few days after 184.
Okay, so it's taking place a few years.
Yeah. This is right after 184.
And
so
7 issues and beyond will it's really 184 and on, and we're seeing what happened with NYX while everything else was going on.
Yeah. So we know where we want to go with 3 miniseries. That's the great thing about comic book continuity and time. That could end up at issue 300 where she gets shot. Or if the series goes well and people are going, no, I want more, we could do this for another 10 years and still say, that's the time that she was gone between issue and this and that. Because remember, Spawn has not been Spawn for 30 years.
Yeah.
No.
You know what I'm saying? The book has existed for 30 years, but he has not been Spawn for 30 years. They used to say in the Marvel universe, you could always tell how old it was by how old Franklin Richards was.
Yeah.
he was the barometer. Again,
that grew.
Yeah. For the sake of continuity, we could use Cyan, but she's aged a little bit quick simply because they wanted to tell some stories with her as a young woman, a late teens young woman. So it's not exactly that time, but again, Spawn has not been Spawn for 30 plus years. So that's why we specifically say just years ago instead of saying 8 years ago, because we don't want to have to worry about it. But again, that goes along with having to do with a 30-year plus continuity.
Here's another question. Who would you fan cast if you could for NYX?
Wow, that's a great question that I can't believe I have not thought about this already. There are a lot of cool characters. There are a lot of cool actresses. I'm going to think about this for a second.
Yeah.
Because I'll blurt somebody out like Anya Taylor-Joy and somebody will rip into it. And I don't know that she's the best. But I just watched her in that movie, The Gorge. And I thought it was awesome. She had that dark hair. So I thought that was really she could be a NYX. So, but I'll think about that.
So is there any chance moving forward then that like as far as like, you know, we're finding out about all the witches and everything that's going on, that will come up in the other stories, in the other main titles? Or is this just going to be exclusive?
No, that's absolutely the goal. That's the goal. I've sat in plenty of meetings where writers come in, whether they be John Layman or Rory, or just writers that, you know, came in with a pitch that we didn't necessarily work on. We get a ton of pitches of, I want to go back and tell stories just like they were when I grew up. So I want to tell a story that takes place between issues 11 and 12 of Spawn. And I was like, we did those. Like, I'm looking for new stuff. I'm not going to do the nostalgia stuff. And then Todd will point and be like, you know, you see this right here? This is all of the stuff I've ever told about Spawn. This is the Spawn universe right there. But you know what I don't know? What's happening over here? This is all Al stuff, heaven and hell. But what's going on in this part of the universe? So I took that to heart. I've heard him say that a bunch. So that's what this is about. But the goal would be that some writer down the road goes, I love that idea with all the covens in New York, and I'm gonna steal that. So she goes to this one cool coven that's in the back of a Chinese restaurant. It's like a secret speakeasy of witches or something like that. And I'm gonna go set an issue there where like some guy's in there. Yeah. And so yes, I hope absolutely that somebody takes some of these ideas and some of these characters even and runs with them.
Well, there's one character. Sorry, there's one character that I miss, and if I've missed it, but we haven't seen him since issue 87, and I would like to see Bobby again. I mean, I know we left Rat City behind in the alley, but when we last saw Bobby, he had gotten his figurine broke that his daughter had given him, and he just kind of like, he walks off and we don't see him again. But Spawn has infused him with like some of his necroplasm. And it's like, I got attached to Bobby, and it's like, where is he? Like, I have so many ideas as to how he could come back into the story. I miss him.
Yeah.
Like,
no,
he was such a pivotal part of the beginning of the story. And then just like all that got left behind.
Yeah.
But out of everybody, that's the guy that I miss.
Start that hashtag, bring back Bobby.
I really wish he would like show up. Some, like, I have so many ideas. I'll make it trend. We need Bobby back.
Bring Bobby back.
Yeah. And most people are going to be like, who is Bobby? Go back and read the earlier stuff. You'll find out who Bobby is.
Yeah.
Really cool guy.
And then can you kind of talk about the relationship between Cyan and NYX?
I mean, it's quick. It's short. Yeah. You know, Cyan was established real early on as being someone special.
Yeah.
And again, she's one of those characters that's kind of like, it's not heaven or hell. Mm-hmm. She's just touched. She's blessed. She's got, as we learned in Misery, incredibly powerful psychic abilities. Yes. But due to, if you read that last story arc that ends on 184, you realize that she also has this connection to the future via her old self, who it's insinuated practices magic and was a student of NYX.
I mean, she was pivotal in 184, to be honest.
Exactly.
That issue.
So within the present day, within I shouldn't say present day, within this current story, there really won't be, because again, she's still a child. Yeah. Now, let's say that we've jump ahead 2 or 3 years, and the storyline has run its course, and NYX is no longer Queen of Hell. My hope would be that she does not get killed off. My hope is that she somehow returned to Earth in her human form somehow. And I think it would be very interesting to have them kind of reunite and see what do they remember about that situation, and where do they go as friends.
Oh yeah, to have NYX and Cyan back together as like adults, or after everything they've been through, that would be really cool.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so I have thought of that, but in this book, she's still a child, so we're not really going to drag her into this.
No.
And as far as the Covenant goes, does it function like a John Wick scenario? Like, have you thought about that and how it would function?
Oh yeah, this is one of those areas that we're leaning into comic books.
Yeah.
There are no coven wars that I'm aware of in New York City. There are no secret magic battles that happen. It's not like Step Up where they dance battle in empty warehouses, but with magic. No, that doesn't really happen as far as I know. But for the interest of it being a comic, we're kind of sowing the seeds of, hey, throughout the history of this, there's been fights. You ever seen Gangs of New York? With Butcher Bill and all of the different races, the Irish fighting, the English fighting, all of that stuff. So we're kind of leaning into, hey, yeah, we all look down on the spawns and the hell spawns and the angels and demons and all that crap, but we don't necessarily trust each other either. Yeah. But right now there is this odd truce that is getting stretched simply because these girls are going missing from all of them. And at first they didn't trust each other. And then they're realizing this is bigger than just, them poaching one of my initiates. So what do we do? And NYX happens to be showing up and they're like, oh, well, here's someone we could throw in front of us and act like a bulletproof vest if there's any problems, because we don't care what happens to her. Yeah. and she's kind of trying to earn her place back and kind of reconnect with people that she considered her family.
Yeah. I love it. Thomas, as the editor-in-chief, and you looking at every title that comes across the Spawn universe, how the hell are you finding time to write a 7-part issue? The last time I talked to you, I felt like you're pretty overwhelmed. You seem really relaxed right now. Maybe it's the new voice. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident right now. No, I just have to find time.
Yeah.
I joke around, I'm on blood pressure meds, man. So I got to find the time. So when we were driving out to Albuquerque, I sat in the back seat for the first 3 hours because I was writing a plot for Nat for the way out there. Again, I had written the big document. Now I was breaking it up into pages for him, so he had stuff to work on. When I got back, I wrote the first few pages. I'm finishing it up. It'll probably be done either later tonight or early tomorrow morning for the script. And I kind of just do that. Again, I look at that as not my job as editor-in-chief. So I try not to do that on like work hours. I do a lot of writing on the weekends. I like to get up. My wife and I go to a coffee house, put on some headphones and just, put a couple hours into the laptop.
And talk a little bit about the music
that
is inspiring you, because at the very beginning, or somewhere in here, I can't remember where it's at. Maybe it's at the back. You talk about
the back of the book.
Yeah,
the last page.
The last page.
Yeah.
You talk about
spawning ground.
Important music that has been really important in your ability to maybe get inspired, to stay focused. Can you kind of talk about how important the music is to you this?
I've done that for a while now. And I've always been a big fan of back matter in comics, not just a letters page. I liked when the writer or the artist talked about the creating of the book. Matt Fraction and Terry Dodson do a ton of that for Adventure Man. Kieran Gillen, like in all of his books, he'll have pages and pages of just stuff that he kind of just like just mind vomits onto the page about the creation process. And to me, as a creator, I pull a lot out of that. So I like to listen to music when I write. If I'm working, I listen to just alpha waves. So they just stimulate the brain and they help keep focus. And it's just like these oscillating. Sometimes there's some really low like music behind it, but there's never really lyrics, but it's just these tones and they just go back and forth in your ears. So you need a good pair of headphones. And then, but when I'm writing, I like to listen to music. And for the last kind of year or so, I've been really into doom metal, which is usually it's not death metal. So there's no screaming or it's just really kind of slow and sludgy and fuzzy and stuff like that. So that's where some of those songs were from. And as I'll just hit Spotify, find a band I like, and then go like songs like this, and I'll go for hours. So I picked out like 5 songs, and I'm going to do that for every single issue, and then build a Spotify playlist for all of the issues. But some of the songs I actually, if I listen to it, I go, that's this scene. That's the feel that's the feel of this scene right here. So I won't tell you the song.
Yeah.
But in issue 4, there's going to be a big fight scene. And Nat and I have been planning on this particular fight scene. And I've already picked the song for that. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but you can have me on so you can tell me, and we can play the song. But that is what I kind of just get. I want to feel the vibe of the book. So if I was writing Sam and Twitch, it's a very different set of music. I listen. I'm just personally, I'm a huge fan of jazz. I like old jazz, so I listen to a lot of Thelonious Monk when I'm writing Sam and Twitch, because again, I kind of feel like hard-boiled detectives, rainy nights in New York City, much less fighting monsters and demons. Yes, they have fought monsters and demons, but for what we're doing, for the most part in Sam and Twitch right now, is pretty much just cases, weirdos, but there's not a whole lot of supernatural. So in my book, there's not nearly as much supernatural as when they just show up in Spawn.
Yeah.
So.
Love it. Love it. We got another question here. Will we get to see how Nyx and Jessica Priest become friends in Black Ritual?
Yes, that is the goal. Because I think I threw that kind of flash forward dream sequence when we were doing it. I specifically was like, I need you to draw the present day She-Spawn. Because there was a lot of people that if you read 300 and 301 and you see Nyx in like her little war room, Jessica shows up and everyone was like, how do they know each other? And they talk like they're really good friends. And then Nyx dies and Jessica finds the body and like she's distraught. And she touches her and the amulet explodes. But if you also remember, Nyx had that big leather book. That's the book of Nyx. We're tying it all in.
Wow.
So that's the book that she's starting to write right now.
That's freaking fantastic.
But so I as a fan, because I love Jessica Priest as a character, as a fan, I was like, I want to write that. I want to. How did they meet? What did they? How did they become close? I'll be honest. It's not going to be in this first arc. We're really kind of setting the tone for Nyx and her place in the universe in this first arc. But yes, that is the plan. Is we are going to show a little bit more on how she's part of the universe from the side that not a lot of people realize she was there.
Amazing. Incredible. This
Yeah,
song
that's
is
it is not. Surprisingly, it is not. But good, very good guess. Very good guess. I do think you're going to be surprised though. So I'm saying it right now. You guys have me back on for issue 4.
Yep.
So you can guess the fight. You can guess the fight song.
Thomas, we would love to have you back for every issue, just when it comes out, maybe the couple days after when people get it, and just go through it together. I don't know if you have the time for that. We'll take you as often as we can, but I think it'd be really fun to go through it with you and then to be able to dig into everything that you're tying in, because you have, and Mark, I'm sure you agree with me, you have this unique perspective that I think obviously fans have read all the issues, but you have this unique perspective because you're so like involved in every single issue as an editor. I feel like you could draw on things a lot easier than most people can when they're trying to tell a story within this universe. And I'm so excited for this title, because out of all the titles, which have been awesome, I'm not sure everybody has that knowledge as deep as you do, just because you have to touch and really pay attention to everything that's going on, especially when your boss is like, hey, when did this happen again?
Yeah, that's a big one. And then, all of the writers, I kind of get the dump of the questions. Can I use this character? When did they just, and it's not always just, what was the last issue they showed up on? A lot of it is this in character? Because, let's be honest, when Overkill showed up, he was the assassin trying to kill Spawn. Now he's kind of working with Spawn and the Scorched peripherally. Same thing with Cygor. So, characters have to evolve. Characters have to change. So a lot of the times it's, hey, I want to do this with this character. Does that fit the story? Does that fit where they are emotionally right now? And so sometimes it's a yay and sometimes it's a nay. And then sometimes I got to then go, well, no, you can't, because so-and-so is going to use this person over here, but let's find somebody else. Let's, Sean, when Sean Lewis was doing, that's why we brought in Soul Crusher. And he was like, I'm going to make a new Soul Crusher because I want, like, Soul Crusher's an old man. And like, how long can he just be like, well, I take this drug and I'm strong for 10 minutes. Eventually you just need to have a new character. So going into that, and then when the Scorched came, it's taking a lot of these mismatched characters, and I don't think anybody's really kind of picked up on that book. When we were coming up with who started that book, and I haven't seen anybody talk about it, so I'll say it. So they're all like Hellspawns and or a Redeemer. Yes, Haunt's there now, but like originally it was Gunslinger before his own thing. There's a special part about the Scorched is none of those characters became what they are, meaning a Spawn or a Redeemer, by normal means. Hal Simmons died, went to hell, made the deal. Jessica didn't. Redeemer isn't under the control of heaven for some reason. He's his own man, and he's hanging out with Hellspawns.
Yeah.
Gunslinger, we know the story of Jeremy Winston. It's already been pretty obvious that he's not being referred to as Jeremy Winston. He's referred to as Javier in the future and Tobias in Deadly Tales. Again, not a retcon in any way, shape, or form. We know the story. Jimmy's telling it. Jimmy is explaining, hey, you all read 174 and 175? That is still 100% canon.
Yeah.
I'm going to explain to you why it's different now. So that is his story. So all of these characters, they're all not normal. Even for being a Hellspawn or a Redeemer, they're not normal for what they are. Medieval Spawn was a Spawn, gets pulled into the future, but then killed by beheaded, something that is supposed to kill a Spawn. He has no body anymore, but he can take over and possess a host, different than any other Spawn. So they're all the outcasts of their own groups.
Wow.
So
nobody really picked up on that.
So then, because I'd seen like pictures or renderings done of it, but so the Scorched really is the Breakfast Club of the Spawn universe.
100%.
That is, I did not pick up on that. I missed that. That is awesome. They're just a band of misfits. That is too cool.
When we were talking earlier, Todd was talking about, do we make some new characters, like a new, Spartan Spawn, whatever, Greco-Roman Spawn, whatever.
That would be cool.
And it could be, but then I was like, but if we take these characters, like we knew Jessica was always going to be the leader, but if we take these characters, and I even to Todd, I was like, but look at it, none of them are normal for their group. They are all the outcasts.
That's cool.
And so that's one of the reasons we came up with the name Scorched, because they've all been burned.
Yeah.
They've all been burned by the people that they trusted and the people that were in charge of them. So, and that's why they've kind of glommed on. And then you've got a character like Haunt, who in our universe, people are like, he's not heaven, he's not hell. Yeah. And then when he was in Spawn, Roy wrote him where they're like, what's a Haunt? Like, he shouldn't be able to go to heaven. Yeah. Like, there's a reason behind it. We haven't revealed it, but we will. So
I gotta say that as far as the Scorch goes, I'm glad you guys are giving poor Overkill like a little more time in the book, instead of like showing up at the beginning, getting killed, and then we don't see him for several issues. I'm glad that he's actually getting some time to actually live and move around. I do like him as a character.
Yeah, he's a fun character. I enjoy him, and I think he was one-dimensional when he was first creating him, just
he was
big assassin from the mob. But now I think you can have a lot of fun with him.
Oh yeah, I mean, especially the way that they used him in the story. He's poor guy.
Yeah.
He's right now.
Yeah. Well, Thomas, we're on wave 3 of all these amazing new titles. I don't know if you are able to kind of share the idea of how many waves there could be. I feel like, and you would know better than me, but I feel like all these waves have been really successful in their own right. When it first came out, Todd mentioned, look, we're going to create a bunch of amazing stories related to the Spawn universe, but we're going to be able to reach customers that maybe Spawn's not for them, right? Maybe Scorch isn't for them. So we're creating all these different stories that people could enter into the universe, and we're going to find characters that maybe people can relate with more than some of the stuff that we've already been doing, and hopefully expand the readership within the universe. And I feel like that's taken place. I mean, we've had some amazing titles over these last 3 waves. Do you have an idea of how many more waves, or are you even able to share how many more waves there would be?
Well, we've got some stuff that we've announced so far that we maybe not haven't shown art, but we know how She Spawn mini
Yep.
coming out, which will be hitting later this year, written by Gail Simone.
Yep, I remember
The
that,
art on that is absolutely spectacular by an artist named Iguara. And she pitched an idea for She Spawn that is just she hit it out of the park. She didn't want to just do a well, here's a solo mission.
Yeah.
She went weird. And it just works. It works really, really well. Obviously, we've got Liam Sharp's Dark Ages coming, which again, to me, that's like its own self-contained property. You know, you're not going to see Al show up in Dark Ages. Liam is living and breathing in that Dark Ages universe with very little input or stuff from us. We're just trusting him to kind of, he's done it before. Yeah. Just have fun, man. Tell our Conan story.
Yeah, I was just going to say that is the
yeah.
perfect person for that.
Yes.
And his art is just next level gorgeous. I mean,
yeah.
That's what the Spawn universe has always been known for. Right? Obviously, we have these amazing characters, the amazing stories, longest running indie comic with a bunch of stories to be told. But I feel like the Spawn universe has always been either the jumping point for some of the best artists in the industry or some of the best artists in the industry wanting to touch Spawn in that universe. You will never get like an ugly Spawn related universe comic.
Yeah.
That is 100%.
It'd be tough. It would be tough. Spawn 77, obviously.
Yes.
With Mark Spears. Todd and him came up with a really, really cool story for that. So they're working on that together right now. And that's kind of really it. That's stuff that's been announced. We might have some stuff to announce at San Diego this year. But for the most part, all of those books are just miniseries. We know we value everybody that's willing to throw, $2.99, or it's been announced $3.99 down on a book. Mm-hmm. We appreciate everybody that's willing to throw their dollars to us. So no, we don't want to be like, here's 13 ongoings that you have to pick up. No, we realize not every character can support that. So here's a cool She Spawn mini, because we also got She Spawn over here. Here's the Mark Spears and Todd McFarlane Spawn 77. That's just going to be fun and crazy. Yeah. Liam is going to be doing kind of a long form mini series, but he's got many ideas. So we'll probably do something along the lines of, here's the first, 8 or 9 issues, take a couple of months off. And then here's the next story in that part of the universe, take some months off, because he's got other projects going on here and there, just like what we're doing with Black Ritual. We've got these stories set, but we're not going to do it as an ongoing. We're going to give you guys a little break because we've got interesting stuff coming. We don't want to burn our people, because we do appreciate that everyone's, especially now, everybody's looking with, I saw an article on Comic Book Resources today about the tariffs, about how tariffs don't affect comics. It's true in some aspects, but the tariffs still affect the purchase of the materials needed to make the comics. Mm-hmm. So it's not that this is still an unaffected place. So we'll see how that goes. But yes, we do have a lot of stuff, but we really, really want to respect the fan base at this point and not just throw stuff with the expectation that you guys are going to buy it all. We want to handpick, we want to curate, and then again, not overdo it.
Mm-hmm.
Did I was fairly certain that back when you announced all the new miniseries that were coming out, that we were going to be getting a focus book.
Oh yes, that is happening as well still. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yep, that's still going on.
And then Jason Sean Alexander is doing the Freak.
That is the Freak. I didn't realize that was 100% announced, but yes.
I saw it. I mean,
you saw it, then hey, it's announced. Todd might have mentioned that in a couple of interviews.
No, somebody posts. Oh, it was a sneak peek by your boss, I think.
Yeah, probably.
It was a while back, but it looked really good.
Yeah, I think for that one, simply because Jason's working on that, as well as his own creator-owned Empty Zone, which is one of my favorite books that Image ever put out. So we're not worried about getting that monthly. We're going to let that be done. Once he's done with that, then we'll solicit and get it out. That way there's no delays and there's no undue stress on him. So yes, an incredibly amazing looking Freak book.
Coming out. Yeah. Sorry, I mean, if McFarlane News comes out or Image, I seem to find it. So
no worries.
It got put out there somewhere. Sorry if I ruined it for everybody.
No, not at all. Not at all. I see Daily Spawn Archive asks, why did the book change from Cultus Noctis? Because I was being super fancy, and that was one of the times where Todd went, I don't get this title. I don't get this title. And I'm like, well, because it means the Book of Night, and that's what the book is that she's writing. And he goes, yeah, I don't get that. I don't get that. I'm like, it's Latin, and most actual grimoires are titled in Latin. It's just the way it is. He's like, yeah, but do we have to be that real? You have to. And I'm like, fair enough. And then Eric Stevenson was like, yeah, it's a little weird. I'm like, okay, fair enough. And then we just wanted to call it, very much just NYX, or Book of NYX. And then Marvel was putting out their book, which is not even a character. It's NYX. It's just a neighborhood in New York. Yeah. But apparently there's some, like it's not a character named NYX. No. It just stands for New York X-Men, not X-Men, but like meaning where the mutants live in New York.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not even pronounced NYX. It's just
no, it's just NYX. Yeah. But they still had I believe a copyright for utilizing that as the primary word in a title. Oh. So, at that point you just put a couple of cool words together like Black Ritual, and you go, ooh, yeah. Black Ritual sounds. And then I still was like, but I want the Spawn fans to know it's a book about NYX.
Yeah.
So then we added the subheader, the Book of NYX.
Love it.
Hey, I do have one quick minor question when it comes to issues. I just thought of this, but like after 350 came out, I noticed that like on different titles and even different issues, they were just random, that the issue number was red. Is there any significance to that, or was that just a printing error?
No. That's actually just like one of the, I don't think I've got an issue in front of my mind, actually. Yeah.
Like the title.
Here's an old one. No. It literally is just Todd looking at the cover art, the primary cover, and goes, what looks cool. Okay. There's nothing. There's no rhyme or reason to that at all.
I thought I was like uncovering some big mystery, but I guess not.
Yeah. No. Every once in a while he'll be like, it might be cool if you just make that red. It just pops a little bit. That's literally it. Like all of the logos, they all have multiple colors. So you've got the main color, you've got the drop shadow color, you've got the stroke around it, and he'll sit with the production artist, and we'll give a rough like, hey, this is a primarily blue cover. Let's go with like yellow or orange to pop it. And he'll be like, what if we make the Spawn and put the stroke yellow, and he just plays around with it. And then sometimes, he'll just play with the image eye colors, not as often. But he'll just go, man, what if we make that red? And sometimes it's cool. But yeah,
he's felt that several times. So I thought it was something big. Yeah. No. Okay.
And I did want to kind of show issue number 2 on the back. We have a preview. You could obviously go to Image website and see the other covers. Is this a NAT cover as well? Is this cover A?
Yes, that's cover A. Typically we put the cover A's on the back covers. Yeah. But that's another Nat Jones. He's going to be doing all cover A's. Yeah. And then I'm actually very, very excited for the cover B of that, which is by an artist named Danny Earls, who is out of England. And I met Danny online a couple of years ago, and he'd gone back and forth doing some submissions for us. And then he was just doing a lot of fan art. And then one day, somebody tagged him and sent his Twitter to Gail Simone. And Gail Simone saw his art, and he did a Batman page just for fun. And Gail Simone tweeted, hey, at Marvel and at DC, why the hell haven't either one of you guys signed him yet? And he got signed to Marvel within the week.
Wow.
And he did Hulk.
Gail is at that position in the industry where I think people listen, right?
And so he did the Hulk, and then after that he did a Batman run, and he's phenomenal. And he did some really cool stuff with Frank Thierry for a Darth Vader book, and I absolutely loved his stuff. So his cover B, I don't know if you guys have a way of pulling that up or not, but
I'll pull it up while you tell us. Yep.
His cover B, I was at New York Comic Con last year, and him and I are friends because he actually is a former English Premier League soccer player, and I'm a soccer fan. So he played for Aston Villa, and then he played over in the US in the USL Pro League. So I've actually seen him play because he would play the Phoenix Rising, our local kind of like B-level team. But he had a bunch of like just sketches that he was just kind of selling for con. And I saw this sketch, and I went, this is cool. and this is creepy, and I absolutely love this, and I'd like to buy this. And he's like, no, you can just have it. I'm like, I can't. I got to buy it. So I bought it, and it was just a little 5x7 little. He just did it with one of those brush pens, like the Pentel brush pens. Did it with that, and we're sitting there. And this was again last year. And then when we're starting to come up with covers, I'm sitting up. It's on the shelf in my office, and I'm like, I could use that as a cover. So I sent it off to get colored, and it was really clean colors, and we turned that into a cover. And it is probably one of my favorite covers of the book so far.
Oh wow!
I don't know if I've seen it yet.
I'm currently looking for some of the other covers. Bear with me here.
Yeah, so it's issue 2, cover B.
I got 3. There's issue 2. It seems like you've released the cover A's on a couple of them. I'm still looking real quick.
If you go to like the lunar site, you can find them all.
Perfect.
But yeah, so Nat's done some great covers. We've got Danny Earls. I've got a couple of Brett Booths coming down. We've got Jonathan Galapian's on cover on issue 1. Raymond Gay.
I found it.
Yeah.
I mean, Tommy will bring it up, but I found it.
No, I got it. Bear with me while I pull it up real quick. Yeah, I'm still waiting for my buddy Jordan Noir to get a cover, Thomas.
You know, I follow him, and I like him so much, and you know, he's getting there. He's really, really close for us to be able to pull the trigger on.
Absolutely.
You know, that's what I appreciate creators. I'll use 2 as an example. Jonathan Uribe, who's doing some covers, and then our very own Jeff Monk, who just kind of like they stayed the course. And you know, if I came back and they said, oh yeah, so it's the one all the way at the end there
to the right.
Yeah, that is wicked.
So that was just like this little pen sketch he did, and then I sent that to the colorist, and I was like, I just want that crown to glow, and just make that bright. And it at the time was not a specific character. I just loved that vibe, and that has now become a character.
Really?
In the book,
cool.
Simply because it was just like I just loved the weird creepiness. It's like an A24 horror movie or something. I just loved this. I just dug this look so much. Yeah. So that just became a cover for us.
Danny Earls killed it, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Really cool covers though coming up. So insane. So there's the Nat, and then here's 3, which I assume is cover A right here. Yep. Raymond
Gay did cover B for that one right next to it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that looks dope, man. Yeah, I love NYX, man. Just such a cool character. So glad that the light is being shined. Well deserved, man. Thomas, incredible, my friend. Absolutely phenomenal. I'm so happy for you, man. I know we talked the last time about you getting an opportunity to do something within the Spawn universe. I know you're not new to writing, but about damn time that Todd gave you a title, my friend.
I appreciate that. Thank you very, very much.
I did a fine job.
Thank you, Mark. I really do appreciate it. But I do want to quickly circle back. So I mentioned 2 artists before, because if there's any artists watching the show, this is really important. In Albuquerque, I did a lot of portfolio reviews, and at the end of this month, I'm getting flown out. I'm going to be a guest at Portsmouth Comic-Con in England. And one of the things they asked me was like, "Hey, we've had a lot of creators reach out. Like, will you do portfolio reviews?" And I said, "Absolutely," because the people that we're looking for, the people that we can get on board, like Jonathan Uribe and Jeff Monk. I talked to Jeff for well over a year. Same thing with Jonathan, just back and forth. They're showing me art. I'd go, "Hey, I like that." And let's be honest, just because I go on somebody's Instagram and like a Spawn thing, that does not necessarily mean I think that's ready for a cover. It just means I like that. And then there are also artists, and you guys can appreciate this, that their style doesn't necessarily suit a Spawn cover, but I can still love the art.
Yeah.
So,
definitely.
So, but guys like Jeff and Jonathan, they kept at it, and every time somebody gave them a critique, whether it was me, and I know they both have had some opportunities to interact with Todd, they said, "Okay, cool. I'm gonna make those corrections. I'm gonna put that effort, and I'm gonna make those changes." And for both of them, it was well over a year or two, and then one day, they both got cover artists. Wow. And Jeff just shared that one first Skull cover. I think it was 362. Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong. And I was like, "Bro, that's it, done." And he's like, "Oh no, I'm gonna redraw a little bit of them." I'm like, "Don't touch it. I want that. That looks
that's
so
an
good.
awesome
And
cover.
I was right. Everybody loved that cover.
Yeah.
And then we got it colored, and the colors was like, Ivan Nunez was like, there's not a whole lot I can do to this. I'm like, man, just do something interesting. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
And he just gave that kind of surreal, like, this is an image that shows up during like a Jefferson Airplane video or something like that. And it just came out great. But the black and white is just chef's kiss.
Yeah.
But that being said, now Jonathan's doing covers. Jeff just got 3 more approved. So,
oh, awesome. Sweet.
excuse me. So that's the thing, is like, we're not trying to give
Yeah, that monk guy.
we're not trying to give critique to dissuade you or discourage you.
Yeah.
We're trying to give critique, and it might be harsh, to get you better, so I can put you on a book.
Yeah. I love that. And, you know, obviously the way you're looking at art, and then of course, Todd being known as one of the best ever to do it, the focus on helping artists is so amazing. And I feel like everyone at TPM has done such a good job of not only bringing in some of the best artists in the world, but also finding artists that go on to do a lot of amazing things in the future. I mean, how do you not love a publisher that's willing to do that?
Yeah. And that was a big surprise to me. Todd gets a real big kick. I'll get texts from him all the time at like 3:00 in the morning, and he'll screen cap some random's Instagram, because he'll just do a search for the hashtag comic book art.
Yeah.
And then he'll find some dude, and I'll get a text with the screen cap of the guy's name, and underneath will be like, this guy only has like 2,000 followers. Nobody's discovered him. Let's get him on the phone.
Yeah.
and you know, and then inevitably he'll reach out, and then they'll come back like, this isn't really Todd McFarlane. Like, you're not reaching out. And then I'm like, no. Contact I'm going to have my editor-in-chief reach out, and then I'll reach out, and they'll be like, is it really? Are you guys screwing with me? It's like, no, it really is, man. So we do that. So yes, could he throw money at every hot Marvel and DC artist and writer and just get them? Probably. Yeah. But we love, and I've started to enjoy this even more, is finding these people that are just like right there. Yeah. And they need someone like Todd to go, you know, if you just did this and this, it's perfect. Yeah. And you get these names like Raymond Gay, Jeff Monk, Jonathan Uribe, Thaddeus Robeck, Tauntaun Revolver. Bjorn Behrens was one of our toy sculptors.
Oh, wow.
This cover,
you know, yeah.
So much detail.
Yeah. Actually, I had Kaibar on, and that was his exact story. Is Todd jumped into his DMs, and he's like, this is not Todd McFarlane. And so you got this little back and forth, like, holy crap, it is Todd. So yeah, no, I mean, I could back you up on that, Thomas, because I do know one artist that I've had on the program, and he's all, dude, he snuck into my DMs, and it was the greatest feeling I ever had in my life.
Yeah. It's super fun. And then it's really, I was, Jeff. I was
day drinking.
You were at the bar doing D&D.
I was, totally. You know, with the time difference, you know. No, and that really is it. And we get a really big kick out of it. And then I love when I get to see people like Bjorn and Raymond Gay, and like Raymond's doing Ghost Machine stuff now, and Bjorn's doing like Hulk and Venom covers, and it was like, dude was he lives in Germany, but he was one of the sculptors for the toys. He was just a freelance sculptor. And he sent that over, and Todd's like, hey, one of our freelance sculptors did this medieval Spawn. Like, what do you think? I'm like, it's actually pretty cool. And he's just gotten better and better and better. Mm-hmm. And, you know, his painting skills have gotten so good that his covers are just phenomenal. So yeah. Do we work with big names? Sure. Of course. You know, everybody wants to see a J. Scott Campbell cover every once in a while, but it is super fun to find these just diamonds that nobody's discovered yet, and putting them on there. Like, you know, Donna Gio is another one that I absolutely love working with. Yeah. And it's just like, there he is. And now everyone steal him, please. I'd love to email Don and him and be like, I got like 8 Batman covers to do. Good for you, man. Because we all want to be in this industry. And I say it all the time. And I think it's true. I've seen it happen. And I hope that when I'm done and gone, somebody says, Thomas tried to fix this. And I think it was Kurt Busiek who said years ago, like, every time somebody figures out a way to break into the industry, the comic industry, the industry makes sure that they plug the hole behind them.
Yeah.
It's very true. It really is, because everybody feels like you're competing against everybody else, and I see it between some of the creatives that we've got, or hey, I saw so and so did a bunch of covers, and why didn't you ask me to do that cover? It's like, because he pitched it, man. He gave me the rough before you did. That's the only reason. I love you all. But hopefully, you know, if we can help get more people into this industry, that they can use what they do with TMP to get that foothold and get their name out enough. So if they're at a con, somebody from Dark Horse or somebody from Mad Cave or somebody from Vault goes and says, hey, do you got time to do some stuff for us? Yes, do it. I mean, even the bigger guys, you know, if any of our big names, and Javi did it, Javi Fernandez was like, Todd, can I take like 3 months off? They offered me some Batman. Todd gets it. Yeah. Todd knows what it's doing. Batman's a big friggin' deal. I mean, name another book for an artist. I think Batman is the big book in the industry.
Agree.
And Todd's like, you know, I get that. You doing your name's on Batman, dude. You got your 3 months. No worries. Like, there's no animosity there.
Yeah. Absolutely love that, man. Well, Thomas, I want to be super respectful, man. We've taken about an hour and a half of your time. I know that probably talking for an hour and a half is probably not helping your current situation.
No, it's okay. I do apologize for my voice, guys, and the coughing. Hopefully,
extra sexy in the after this, man.
No, you're fine.
But Thomas, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you always being open to come hanging with us. Again, I am so happy. I mean, you've been on the program a few times and you're always so gracious and helping spread the word of Spawn and the Spawn universe, and to have your own title, man. I could not be more happy for you. And I absolutely loved issue 1. Cannot wait to figure out what the hell's going on in issue 2. And with all the little gems that you kind of threw out there, I cannot wait to be flipping through a page and going, he said that, you know, a month ago or 2 months ago. Yeah, man, I absolutely love having you on. You're always welcome. And then, of course, my guy Mark here, who is freaking awesome, man. Once you said, yeah, I'm like, all right, let me reach out to Mark and see if he's available. And Ty, which I know Ty is in the chat. He usually comes on as well. But like you said, that Spawn community is so tight and so amazing and really, really is passionate about the success around Spawn. And that's one of the reasons why I love it. Again, I love a little bit of everything, but we got a few people, all they concentrate on is Spawn and Spawn related items. And I just become even a bigger fan of Spawn because of people like Mark and Ty and everybody else in the chat. It's freaking amazing, Thomas. So congratulations, man. Could not be happier to a nicer person, man, in the industry.
Oh, thank you very much. And again, I mean, this goes out to you guys. You're buying it, you're supporting it, you're hopefully spreading the word about it. But yeah, it's a character that, you know, I think the fandom goes, we could use more. We could use, you know, let's dig into that. And so that's what we're hoping to do. That you guys go, this is what I was hoping to get. Thank you for diving into this character and giving them the proper book that they deserve.
And I am glad of, like, you know, anybody that got to write this book, that it was you. Like, I love this character, and I'm really excited to see how you're going to flesh her out and see what happens.
Right on. Thank you so much.
I'm truly excited.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, Mark.
Yeah. Well, Thomas, until next time, my friend, we'll be in touch. I'll be super respectful, but we would love to have you back for issue 2. Or if you can't do that, whenever you're able to, so we could go back and check out all the issues that are complete. So that way we're not robbing anybody of the excitement of getting into the first time. But I would love to dig into the thought process behind everything. I think it's so fun. And NYX is such a fun character. I'm glad that the light is being shined on her.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys again for having me. I really have a good time when I'm on the show.
I appreciate you. Thank you, Mark, for joining me. As always, my friend. We'll be in touch. Thomas, good sir. Have a great rest of your week, and I hope that you feel much better.
I will. And everybody watch.
I hope you lose the turkey, man, here soon.
All righty. Have a great one, guys.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining. Hope you have an amazing week. We'll talk soon.